Deputy Speaker. I wish we didn't have to debate a topic like this on International Women's Day, but given the way the system has been failing victims of rape, it's right that we do so. I don't think the country has ever had a good enough approach to the victims of violence and sexual violence towards women and girls. Not successive governments, not the police, not the CPS, not wider society. And I'll return to that point at the end. I was looking at the figures yesterday, and in the year ending 2003, there were 11,445 rapes against females in this country. At the end of 2020, there were closer to 53,000 rapes against females in this country. Now, I accept that part of that, as always is the case with crime, people will say, well, look, part of that is better systems for reporting, recording it. But that can only be part of it. And in all but 2 of the years between 2003 and 2020 was the trend downwards. In every other year it went up on the year before, and it's gone up further still, and our conviction rate is much lower. And in speaking in this debate, I went back to some of the very powerful cases I've had from constituents. And unfortunately, such is the nature of these crimes, there are too many for me to be able to quote. But I've just picked 3 of them. One constituent had 3 years before their case reached court. And during that time, they were told not to have therapy, then told they could have therapy as long as the therapist's notes were made available for the defense lawyer of the person that had raped them as part of their case. They were told they shouldn't apply for compensation. They were told they shouldn't talk about the trial. They were told they might not be able to watch the trial. And I just cannot imagine going through that sort of process, having had this done to you and having justice denied for so long, having all these obstacles put in your way. And I can imagine why it's easier to let it go, to think I don't want to carry on with this because it feels like the system works for the perpetrator rather than for the victim. I had another constituent who was raped by someone who had already had 6 no further action notices on them for 6 separate assaults against 6 different women. And I had a third constituent who summed up the system pretty well. She said, the police can't put something that don't feel they can put forward a case that the CPS won't go for. The CPS won't put forward a case they think a jury won't go for. And they felt very strongly that then when it gets to the jury, you're in the hands of people's prejudices. And they quoted for me statistics from a 2018 attitudes survey where 1 in 3 people had said that rape as a result of coercion they didn't think was rape. 1 in 4 people had said that rape in a long-term relationship wasn't rape. 1 in 10 people weren't sure whether if you were drunk or you were asleep that was rape. So the system is undoubtedly failing victims, and I welcome all sorts of things the government's doing. I welcome the scorecards. I think the data will really help. I welcome the funding into rape support services. I welcome it's ridiculous to even have to say this, but the increased emphasis there will be on the suspect's behaviour rather than on the victim's credibility. I note the point that's made about the 7-year minimum suggestion, and that actually in 2020, 68% of people got above that, and the average was 10 years. I think it's right the government's looking at the specialist rape offence courts. But the last point I just wanted to make is one about prevention. We rightly talk about how to fix the system, how we make sure the perpetrators get the punishment that they deserve, that this is a quick process, that we have a high conviction rate, and that's absolutely the right thing to do. But it is another area where we should spend more time talking about prevention. It seems to me, as I'm sure it does to everybody else, if a boy grows up respecting girls and is taught about healthy relationships, they're unlikely to become a man who rapes women and keeps them in toxic relationships. When Ofsted did its review of sexual abuse in schools, it found that many young children and young people didn't bother reporting it because it was so common that they didn't see there was a point. And I do think that in addition to what we do for the people who have committed these crimes, we need much more focus on how we control what children and young people can access on the internet, what they can see in video games, what behaviour they see from men in their private and in the public spheres. Because by treating boys how to behave in the right way, we've got the best chance of getting to the zero tolerance society for rape that the government rightly says it wants.